Welcome to the Today's Money Masters. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Manu. The Today's Money Masters competition comprises 3 professional investors and a novice, each provided with $500,000 to invest. The participants will invest in stocks, bonds, and collective investment schemes. They will share their strategies over a 1-year period, at the end of which the top portfolio manager will be declared. So let's continue with the masters on this very exciting journey. Now, a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever been interested in an IPO but didn't have the time to go in branch and submit all the documents? We've got a solution for that. With NCB Capital Markets Go IPO portal, you can submit and track your IPO application from any of your favorite devices. No need to go in branch. No need to contact a wealth advisor. No extra fees. And it's accessible to both NCB and non-NCB clients for all our offers. So no excuses. Investing is easier with Go IPO. Visit www.goipo.jncb.com or text Go IPO to 876-383-1729 and start investing today.
On today's program, we are joined by André Yapp, one of our professionals. He's from the Credit Union Fund Management Company Limited. How you do?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good, good. André, the Jamaica Stock Exchange, André, is about to begin trading Bitcoin soon. Can you talk to us a little bit about Bitcoin?
I mean, the first assertion with the word soon, it's somewhat subjective. I mean, the announcement was made in April. We're in December now. I mean, for me, that's not really soon.
That's okay.
So we don't really know when. So let's just say in the future they have plans to announce for trading of Bitcoin. I don't know about soon. Soon could be next year for all I know. I don't know.
Sure. Well,
or
Jamaican
the year
time.
after.
Soon come. Yeah.
Exactly. Soon come. You know, next week it was today. So,
but
yeah.
that is being traded in other stock exchanges.
Well, not stock exchanges. Generally, it's traded at cryptocurrency exchanges.
Okay.
But we're making accommodations. I assume we're making accommodations for that because they have somewhat cemented a deal with a Canadian fintech firm. I think their name is BlockStation, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. To somewhat bring this to the Jamaican populace and for investing public to allow for the trading of cryptocurrencies, the primary one being Bitcoin. So that's supposed to happen in the future. Now, as far as Bitcoin is concerned, I know a lot of people, particularly last year when Bitcoin was on an amazing run, it was just appreciating crazy. Actually, was that last? Yeah, the beginning of 2017, so around 2018, sometime in the past.
Okay.
It was doing pretty well. A lot of people were interested in Bitcoin, what it was, what it does, how do you actually participate in it, and so on. So essentially, Bitcoin is what we call a cryptocurrency, which was invented in about 2009, or essentially, well, not invented, but brought to market or invented based on a white paper by a guy called, let me read this, Satoshi Nakamoto. So that's a kind of sounds like a Japanese name.
Japanese or so.
Right. We don't know if it's a guy, we don't know if it's a girl. It's essentially thought of to be as a pseudonym. Nobody knows who he, she, or the group of people actually are who brought this idea to the public. But essentially what Bitcoin is, it's a cryptocurrency, which is basically a virtual currency, which means there's no physical manifestation of it. You don't put a Bitcoin in your pocket or in your wallet or under your mattress or anywhere of the sort. It's stored in essentially an online wallet. So it's computer-based, it's digital, right?
Okay.
So it's stored in that wallet, and it is somewhat thought of as a store of value. There's some debate as to whether Bitcoin is really a store of value or whether it's not, basically whether it's a currency or not. I won't really chip into that. But essentially the idea of it being a store of value or not being a store of value, a lot of the argument around that or surrounding that pretty much lies in the volatility of the pricing of the instrument. So as I mentioned earlier, in the recent past, I think it was about early 2018, Bitcoin went on a hell of a run, moving from about $10,000 per Bitcoin in value to $20,000 per Bitcoin in value to falling pretty quickly back to around $11,000 in value for Bitcoin. So imagine you got in at anything above $11,000 and now it's trading at $11,000. So you got in at 20 and it's worth 11. Significant losses there.
Yes.
So the volatility of it kind of somewhat makes some people think it's not really a store of value because currency doesn't really fluctuate that wildly and that rapidly because we're talking in the space of weeks, in the space of months, where a currency just went from being valued at $20,000 per US dollar to 10,000. And today I think it's around 12,000 today, because it kind of fell a little bit more, then it rose a little bit into the summer, and now it's back down presently. So there's that. No,
and real money doesn't fluctuate in that.
Not really. It shouldn't fluctuate in that wild space. I mean, we have something called hyperinflation, where the value of money fluctuates wildly, but they have been rare cases of that. It's not really been widespread, prevalent, where we have hyperinflation across all currencies. We might see it isolated to a particular currency or something of the sort. So like the US dollar, we haven't seen hyperinflation in that in a very long time. Jamaican dollar, we haven't seen that significant 50%, 30% type of movement in currency.
Right.
Now, one of the things that people ask is, okay, it's an asset, it's a financial asset. Financial assets are generally derive their value from some underlying asset. Right? So, for example, you invest in, let me throw a company out there, a retail company. Their value is tied up in their inventory and their ability to turn inventory into revenue and profits.
Okay.
Same thing with that oil or gas company. Their intrinsic value is tied up in the value of the oil or the gas and their ability to sell it and turn it into revenue and profits. Bitcoin's value is not really tied to anything. It's kind of just, I think it's worth $10,000. I think it's worth 11. I think it's worth 9. So it's somewhat market driven. It doesn't have an actual true asset to boil down the value to. It's simply, well, let me not say simply. It's mostly based upon sentiment and temperament of the investing public at the time.
Okay, that sounds risky. Andre, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with a little bit more about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency after this. More on the Masters.
Have you ever been interested in an IPO but didn't have the time to go in branch and submit all the documents? We've got a solution for that. With NCB Capital Markets Go IPO portal, you can submit and track your IPO application from any of your favorite devices. No need to go in branch. No need to contact a wealth advisor. No extra fees. And it's accessible to both NCB and non-NCB clients for all our offers. So no excuses. Investing is easier with Go IPO. Visit www.goipo.jncb.com or text GoIPO to 876-383-1729 and start investing today.
The Money Masters Funds. It's all about real growth, safety and security of your assets. The Growth Fund gives higher returns for the investor more focused on growth. Money Masters Funds, providing growth and security, performance and financial peace of mind.
We are CUFMC, Credit Union Fund Management Company. Trust matters, and you can believe in our reliability.
Service.
We give impeccable attention to your needs.
Experience.
Careful and prudent are part of our DNA.
Know-how.
After 70 years working exclusively for credit unions, now we're open to all investors. CUFMC, Credit Union Fund Management Company.
How we choose to invest our time today often has a propelling effect for what we gain tomorrow. It's like investing in shares.
Mommy, is this a share?
Yes. She's right. It's similar to how shares work. Companies are publicly listed on the Jamaica stock market. These companies are divided into pieces, and these pieces are what are called shares. The owners of these shares are called shareholders.
We're talking this week with André Yapp from Credit Union Fund Management Company Limited. André, you were telling us a little bit about Bitcoin. It sounds risky, you mentioned. Is it as risky as it sounds? Can I gain a lot from it? Can an investor lose a lot from it? You mentioned the fluctuations. Mm-hmm. And also, what I find interesting, the underlying value you mentioned, it's more sentimental. So there's no... It's sort of like the gold standard is what used to run money, right? And now it's the US dollar that is the standard. So tell us a little bit about how that makes cryptocurrency that much more risky.
Well, I mean, whether it's US dollars or Jamaican dollars, we refer to it as fiat currency. Essentially, it's value which we as a society have prescribed value to, and that's how it gets its value. And by us keeping that, that's how it essentially stays in use and useful to us.
Right.
With Bitcoin, one of the things that somewhat affects the valuation of it is not just sentimentality, it's also supply and demand. Bitcoin is something which has to be electronically mined. So basically you have a computer, it runs all day and it mines it. It's actually capped. The originators of it, they have made it so that the software which mines it caps it at around $21 billion, I believe. Oh, wow. So that's the maximum amount of Bitcoin that can be in circulation. Estimated hit that about 2025, I think, if I remember incorrectly. So
how did they arrive at that figure? We don't know.
I don't know.
They just pulled that one out.
I don't know if they just pulled it out. If there was some forethought to it, I'll plead ignorance in that one.
All right, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, it's a risky investment because we have seen where the prices fluctuate back and forth in that regard. However, in terms of it being risky, in terms of being able to be counterfeited and that type of thing, it's probably one of the most secure forms of currency simply because of the digital nature of it and the nature of the ledger. So what all cryptocurrencies, well, maybe not all, what most cryptocurrencies have in common is that there's an open ledger which verifies the actual authenticity of it. Okay. So the ledger essentially tracks the movement of the Bitcoin or whatever the currency is throughout its live stream, and it can't really be faked or duplicated. That's actually the most useful part of cryptocurrency. It's been adopted by banks right now. It's being looked at to actually revolutionize the financial industry, probably even revolutionize the legal industry, just because of the quick and authentic nature of that verification process. There. But
that seems like someone who is computer-minded.
Not really. It's just an algorithm or software which is leave running and it takes care of itself. Okay. So you don't really need to be there to do anything. However, in terms of it being safe, in terms of can it be stolen, it absolutely can be stolen.
Right.
Bitcoin can, while the ledger is there and the coin is there and you can be authenticated, it can be stolen. There have been numerous media stories about these online marketplaces, these wallets that have actually been hacked into by cyber criminals, and millions of dollars of Bitcoin have been stolen, and a lot of people have been left with literally no recourse. I mean, these wallets.
There's nothing.
There's nothing really. I mean, there are some regulations and some laws, but it's still in development. A lot of times when these online wallets, particularly the large ones that people would deposit their funds to, get hacked, they can file for bankruptcy, they get bankruptcy protection, you're left with a little to no recourse.
So you're still sort of covered, but not really. Sounds risky. Are there any restrictions on who can buy? Can anybody just get up and...
to my knowledge right now, it's legal in most countries. I don't really think I've heard anything about any countries outlawing it. It's legal in the US. It's legal in most developed countries right now. There are people who accept Bitcoins as payments. There's a bit of shadiness with Bitcoins because sometimes people use it for nefarious means to pay for not so above ground activities.
Okay.
So because of a little bit of the confidentiality of it versus our current system right now.
Right.
So
interesting.
But as far as I know, it's not illegal. It's not been legislated or regulated as yet, but it's not illegal.
All right, interesting. Thank you, Andre, for that crash course in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It's been very interesting.
Try to.
Well, that's all right. It's been very interesting. I think our viewers will appreciate it. I know I certainly did. That was André Yapp this week, giving us his financial thoughts. Thanks again. Join us next week, same time, for another exciting episode of the Masters Competition, as we meet with another participant. Follow the pros and the one novice each week on the Masters. Watch all of the shows on the Today's Money YouTube channel. And listen and analyze the strategies with the Masters on RJR 94 FM Thursdays at 8:45 a.m. as they challenge each other to stay ahead. Also look out for the portfolios in the Sunday Gleaner. The Masters Competition is a product of Today's Money Limited, brought to you in partnership with NCB Capital Markets Limited, Money Masters Limited, Credit Union Fund Management Company Limited, and the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I'm Jean-Paul Manu. The Masters is another fine product from Today's Money Limited.